let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Aura. It's been a month since Elon and Doge have been going through the federal government cutting unnecessary waste and spending. And you know it's making all the right people go insane. Every single thing he does is a major news cycle, and the media can't stop complaining about it. Did you know that in 2023, disgruntled Tesla workers released the private information of customers as an act of revenge against Elon? Now just think about what disgruntled legacy federal employees can do. Those workers have access to all kinds of data. It's important to make sure your information is safe. That is where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Aura is your all-in-one solution for identity theft protection, scams, and online threats. Aura offers comprehensive protection that includes $1 million coverage for identity theft losses. That means if your identity is compromised, you have a safety net to help recover your losses. Plus, with 24/7 U.S.-based support, you will never be alone when facing fraud. Aura uses bank-level security standards to keep your data safe and never sells your information to third parties. And if you're not satisfied, they offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it risk-free. With features like real-time alerts for financial fraud, a robust VPN for secure browsing, and parental controls to keep your kids safe online, Aura ensures that every aspect of your digital life is protected. So why wait? Stop leaving yourself vulnerable to data breaches. Go to my sponsor, Aura.com/Tim, to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed. That's AURA.com/Tim. Let's jump to this clip, ladies and gentlemen. I have bad news. I'm a freak. Scott Jennings has the clip. He says, posting a longer clip than usual. Big discussion on state of the media last night. Trust is so low, but there's a way to fix it, make a better product. And I strongly defend new media sources against attacks. They are freaks. Worth the watch from CNN, 10 p.m. last night. Well, normally I wouldn't want to watch CNN, but Jeff Jarvis, who I know, I would consider him to be an ideological driven individual, an activist, masquerading as a journalist, is calling the White House press a freak show. The day that I went there, he goes on TV and then says it's a freak show. Here's the clip.
The problem is that the right wing, hello, Scott, has taken advantage of this situation, I think, quite cleverly, quite wisely. They've played into a weakness.
What situation?
The situation of media being under attack. And so they've created a situation where...
You've almost got it. Keep going. What the right wing is taking advantage of is finally the American people saying enough is enough. They're tired of feeling like the mass media screens out one viewpoint versus another in political coverage. They're tired of media institutions favoring one party over another. They're tired of narratives over factual stories. If I had any advice for 60 Minutes or anybody else, it would be just cover the news and try to be fair about it and stop putting your finger on the scale, especially during campaigns.
You're talking about the old mass media myth that you could have this thing that was in the middle. The Walter Cronkite saying, that's the way it is, when it wasn't for many Americans the way it was. When people were pissed off.
People back in those days trusted the media, didn't they?
No, they just couldn't be heard because there was no two-way. Now we have the internet.
Look at the Gallup polling. It was here, and now it's here. It's fallen off of a cliff.
Yeah, we do have that Gallup polling about trust
Look at that.
in media, and now, as in recent years, and let's be honest, Scott, a lot of this is driven by the rhetoric on your side of the aisle.
You think it's driven by the rhetoric and not the performance?
Absolutely.
So my point is this. If you're...
Well, I actually agree with Heavy Phillips, driven by the rhetoric of truth. When you're saying things like the very fine people hoax, it was a hoax. Trump never said that. We had a journalist on the show just a couple days ago, Tara Palmieri, who after 10 years, it's been 8 years, she still didn't know this. Trump never called Nazis very fine people. She thought he did.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and
I would simply question...
With that information, she pushed back on the idea that there was anyone there worth defending.
I question why someone purporting to be a journalist never actually watched the video or read the transcript. She just believed it.
So if you don't know it's there, you don't even know how to look for it.
Scott, what do you mean? If someone says to me, Tim, did you hear that Trump punched a baby? I'll say, prove it. I'll say, show me the video. Show me the transcript, and I want sources. I will literally say, source. Where are you getting that from? I want evidence it happened. So on this show, we do our best, but nobody's perfect. And I'll even give that credit to corporations. Sometimes they get things wrong unintentionally. They largely intentionally make things false. The Covington smear. Not a single one of these people decided to actually look at what happened. with the Covington kids. And we're going back years. But now the Maryland man hoax.
I got to talk about that. Okay. If I see both sides of this Maryland man thing. If I moved to California and some shit went down.
Ian, where are you from?
Ohio. But I'm from Maryland because I live in Maryland.
You're not from Maryland.
If someone asked me, where are you from? If I was in Germany and they're like, where are you from? I'd say Maryland.
No, you wouldn't.
Because that's where I came from.
That's not true.
Because I moved around so much, I would tell people I'm from LA when I lived in LA. When they would ask, where are you from? I'm from LA. I've been there 7 years.
You are one of the rare people who does that.
If I went to California and there was an article written and something happened and they were like, California man, something, something. Yeah, that's the meme. You can move to Florida. You're a Florida man. No. Dave, what's his name? Does that?
No.
So anyway, that's
you're wrong.
State of mind is they.
No, it's not.
You can write it up as such if I'm residing
if
in
you're
there.
lying to people.
Well, these people, this guy's an El Salvadorian, and they're intentionally trying to spin it like he's an American Maryland dude.
That's the point.
So
they're intentionally lying. They're pushing a hoax. And Hassan Piker, did you know this? Hassan did not know the guy was from El Salvador. One of the most prominent leftist streamers speaking to millions of people, and in his mind, he saw CNN, he saw ABC, he saw these outlets, and he was like, "This guy's from Maryland. I can't believe Trump would deport him." I would be as mad at Trump as he was if I thought Trump took a guy from Maryland and sent him to a foreign country. That's not what happened.
It should have said El Salvadorian man residing in Maryland. It should have said that.
That's what the New York Times said today, and I said, "Thank you." Despite the fact that they're lying about everything else.
So it's like the whole thing. They're like, we weren't lying. He was residing in Maryland, therefore Maryland man. I get it, but you're intentional. This was a thing about a guy that was deported to El Salvador, and he was El Salvadorian. You can't leave that out.
Yeah, he was Trump with a heart twice as big. He brought Abrego Garcia home. Thank you, Trump.
Thank you for letting me.
Let me play the rest of this clip because Jarvis calls us freaks.
CBS or any other news outlet, the reason that you have lost trust ought to be obvious to you, and the way to fix it also ought to be obvious to you, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with the product. Just try to make a better product that appeals to more people, and the way you appeal to more people is by not crapping on half or more than half of the country because of their values and political viewpoints.
I think that is
what you'd end up with in that press room then is, and these are my words, the freak show that Trump wants. Trump tries to devalue media. Why should we value his freak show there? Leave it to the freaks.
I think calling them freaks.
Leave it to the freaks.
I don't think there's any disagreement on that, by the way.
I mean, he called these new media sources the freak show. They're not freaks. They have audiences.
Some of them are.
They have audiences, and there's a reason that they're thriving is because people are starved for information that they think they can trust. They're not freaks. They're filling a need in this country, in my opinion.
All right.
He said they're freaks. So why do these freaks have more viewership, more further reach? It's because that is the elitist disdain they have for each and every one of you. To those of you who are loyal viewers of Timcast IRL, I saw many of you were posting messages thanking me for being there and congratulating me for being there. Some people were saying, "How dare you, Tim, not wear a suit?" I got those messages too. But the people who watch the show watch it because you trust us. Like Scott Jennings says, we fill a need. This show only has an audience because we must be doing something right. We have made a good product. I read the news all day, every day. I do a morning show. If I don't do the morning show, I don't got nothing for the nightly show. It's very hard to do Timcast IRL because the pre-production and research is my morning show. I read hundreds of articles every day. I'm reading tweets. I'm watching videos. I'm fact-checking things. And then when it comes to Timcast IRL, I largely have read everything in the day, and I have a general idea of what these stories are. Jeff Jarvis doesn't do anything. He's a professor at a university. He doesn't actually work in media, and he's calling all of us freaks. The people in that room are uncurious. They don't fact check. They don't know that Trump never called Nazis very fine people. They don't know that Abrego Garcia is from El Salvador, and they don't bother to investigate. And I'll say this too. As much as a lot of people were very much entertained by Attar's appearance, and I very much enjoyed the conversation and the arguments and the debate. She did not know what was in the Signalgate texts. Okay, her understanding of these stories as a Brooklyn-based journalist is surface level. We've gone over those texts thousands of times, like not literally thousands. You know what I mean? We've done those stories over and over and over again. So when I'm having a conversation about them, I'm like, I think I had to read those things like 15 times within an hour. From sourcing the story and trying to understand it, to reading it during the show, to sharing with other people, to explaining to those who are going to be editing or putting clips together or something like that, what part of I'm reading the text over and over and over again. And so when it comes to a conversation, I'm like, I know what's in those texts. I know what was said. I could probably paraphrase each text. I've read it so much. These journalists that are in the White House, They show up and their editor's like, ask her about this. And they go, okay. And then they don't even know what they're talking about. That's normal to these people. But when anybody with an opposing viewpoint is finally let in, to the elites, it's a freak show. But I would like to say this. I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Jeff Jarvis for everything he's done to help me in my career. The advice he had given me at the start of my career was invaluable. His invitation to the Knight Foundation award ceremony at CUNY was an honor, and I will never forget that moment. Jeff, if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be possible. That day I sat in the White House was thanks to you.
It's awesome. I'd like to see that guy here and just to let him say it. Well, firstly, when you're talking about journalism, not all journalists are researchers, and that's sorely lacking in this industry at the moment, I believe. A lot of journalists will just repeat things that they see. That's not real research. That's not research.
But understand what you just said.
Yeah, I could just pick up a journal and start journaling, and then all of a sudden I'm a journalist? Come on. But you got to do research.
Journalist, literally in the name, represents those who are writing things down, storing facts, and keeping journals, logs of what is going on.
Yeah.
That's not what journalists do anymore.
Well, it'll be like, I saw it on TV, and then they'll write it down, and then they'll say it as if it's real without actually researching where the TV heard it. You know, you got to go deep if you want to, with confidence, explain.
Yeah, but why would they do that? Because what they're going after is clicks. You know, that's their problem right now, is that they're after whatever can generate them their ad rev, right? So that's why they don't bother looking back. It's whatever the headline says to generate those ad rev clicks.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's totally true. But what they're actually looking for is some kind of inflammatory headline that will, just like you said, generate clicks, but also will satisfy the preconceptions of their viewership. Their viewership, they know what they're looking for. CNN knows exactly what their viewers want, the viewership that they've built. Same thing with MSNBC, same thing with Fox. And they make sure that their stories are going to feed people what they want to hear.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And the question is, where does the genesis of each one of those little narratives come from? Because at some point it slips in, and then the monster grabs a hold of it and continues to spread, right? It's like, but even in this clip with this guy here, what we're watching is a little football match, right? We have one person on offense from the other side, and he put them in their place pretty good, but they have no willingness to say to themselves, you know what, maybe we did mess up a little bit along the way. You heard her. She goes, and it's all because of you guys. And that's the problem every single time. It's never, nobody in the media is willing to do that, is to go, you know what, maybe.
In their minds, they're thinking, if you would just shut up and let us lie, they'd have no choice but to watch. That's how they think.
You know, there was a time when the narratives spread by the news, even Fox News included, it was all essentially the same narrative, right? Like the Iraq War, like going into the Iraq War, it was the same stuff from 2000 until probably 2008-9. It was the same thing from basically every news channel.
And now you got the people are that was when we were just being fed news until internet video, and now we're feeding it as well. And that's, I guess, the freaky part. We're the media. This is media. YouTube's the biggest news media channel in the world.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.